Welcome to our step-by-step tutorial on how to actually apply for a rental unit here in Ontario. You've been looking, you've found a rental that you really like, whether it's a house, a condo, they all pretty much have the exact same steps.
Yep.
So we're going to walk you through those, and the first step is going to be...
First step is have your documents ready. So whoever is going to be on a lease, everybody involved wants to have their documents together, so we want to have a full credit report, we want to have a couple of pay stubs or some sort of employment verification. If you are self-employed, you'll probably need a couple of years of a T1 General. You want to have all of those. Anything I'm missing, Ben?
You'll need your photo ID,
Aha.
so a government issued one, typically your driver's license. If you don't have that, a passport can always work, but health cards actually are not legal ID technically.
Right.
Once you have all your documents together, you're going to need to fill out the basic Ontario application form. That's one that your realtor can send you and guide you through. It's a little bit convoluted, but basically it just gets your information out in an easy to read way. It's going to involve who your employers are, where you've lived for the past couple years, and some references.
Yeah, ideally a couple of references is helpful for a strong application.
So once you have all those documents together and you've got a place that you like, you'll give them to your realtor. Your realtor will have you sign a few other documents, and then you'll send those all over to the landlord's side for review.
Yes, and so once it's with the listing side, we hope we have a responsive agent that is going to get back to us quickly. We are going to be putting, when we submit an application, we're submitting a time and date that they have to respond by. If they don't respond by that time, we are not bound to that, but hopefully we find out before that time.
And then in this process, there might be a little bit of back and forth. The landlord might come and request some more supporting documents. If your application is on the weaker side, or you're a student or something along those lines, they might want to see some bank statements. They might want to see some proof that you've been paying rent before. I've seen a whole host of things.
Yes, they get very personal with rental applications. So I've dealt with this, especially if it's a landlord's personal property. They can get a little invasive.
Yeah, but I would also say that usually by the time they're asking for extra documentation, it's probably a good sign.
It is, yes. And
It means they care
probably,
enough.
and they like your profile, maybe it's a good fit.
And then in this process, they also might want to even have a Zoom call with you.
Yes, yeah.
I see that fairly often.
I've been
these
on a
days.
couple of Zoom calls with clients myself.
So if you don't get accepted initially, it's not necessarily over. There are ways that you can come back and negotiate and improve an offer, potentially, right?
Yes.
It could just be over. But you can always come back and offer an extra month's deposit, you can offer more on the rent, or you can talk to the landlord and just see if there's maybe some more documentation you can provide that could improve their perspective on it.
Typically, an offer deposit is due within 24 hours of that offer being accepted. If you don't get it, you could risk losing the acceptance of the offer.
The deposit is typically first and last month's rent. It might be more if you've negotiated that with the landlord, but typically first and last month's rent. And the usual process is you're going to go to your bank, you're going to get a draft from your bank, and then you're going to go to their bank and deposit it. It can be a little bit of a complicated process, but normally tellers at banks are fairly familiar with it, and they're happy to help you out. And we as realtors will always be there to walk you
And the
through.
main thing is we need to make sure the money is ready to go, because typically we have to have that in their account within 24 hours after an offer being accepted. Finally, we have to think about what happens after an offer is accepted. So we're moving towards our move-in date. We are going to have a couple of things that we're going to have to get organized. Typically a week, 10 days before the move-in date, you're going to want to get the hydro set up. You're going to make sure that you've got your liability insurance ready to go. So it's just those sort of final documents leading up to the getting the key, and you'll be in touch. We would be in touch with the listing agent to find out anything the landlord wants to get done, and we'll have the exact timelines to help you through that process.
And a top tip in this case, if you're moving into a condo building, you're probably going to need to organize with the building itself for things like an elevator to move in. You're going to want your name on the buzzer, and maybe just somebody to let you in on day one. Because
Yes.
I've gotten there before, and it can be a little bit of a mess if you're not organized.
Yep.
These are all going to be some of the steps to put in an application to rent. Now, you might not get it on your first application. It might be 2, it might be 3. It can take a while. But that's why it's important to work with a good realtor when you're doing this, because you want somebody who's familiar with the process and who's going to get you the place that you want as fast as possible.
It can be a really stressful process, and we definitely are here to make it much easier on you. And also, the nice thing too with working with a realtor is any place that's on the MLS, it's going to be a little bit more above board. The process is going to be a little bit more seamless. You have people in your corner helping you out, and that's us. We love to help our rental clients out. And yeah, we hope this has been very helpful and clear some things up with the process of obtaining a new lease.